All right. We all good? Hello, hello? All right, I was waiting for this question right off the bat. Ian Bailey asks, "Are you feeling better, Morj?" That was the question I was waiting on. All right, for those of you who don't know or remember, I was not feeling well last week. Theory is that it was the flu. I was feeling really bad all of last week. Last week's stream was honestly very difficult for me. So, did I get better? Interesting question. Yes, mostly. I got mostly better. I got to like 80% health. I got good enough up by Saturday. I was mostly good. And then on Saturday, I drank a lot. Like a terrible amount. Like a terrible, terrible amount. So I drank a lot on Saturday. And that reset that reset the progress bar a little bit. So right now I'd say I'm better than I was on Thursday for sure, but still not 100%. So I could have been 100%, but we're not there. Pina says, "Looking good, Morj." Thanks. That's what I would like to hear on this day, the day where I'm not feeling 100%, even though I should, thanks to my own stupidity. Leonardo Francesca says, "You look wonderfully well." I don't know what that means. Oh, Green Princess brought up something interesting. "OMG, Morj, I love how you decorated your wall. Here is the great news. Who likes what they see on the wall?" First of all, let's all like the stream. Let's all like the stream. Let's get the stream to 100 likes. Let's all get the stream to 100 likes. That's step number one. In the meantime, let me tell you about how you can decorate your wall the same way that I decorate my wall. Because you all want a wall like that, right? Maybe not the color and all of that. You want the poster. That's what you all want, right? You want the poster. Let me drop you guys a link to exactly what you guys could have. All right, you ready? You ready? Jack the Bunny says, "Morj, you should put more posters on the wall." Oh, there'll be more posters. And guess what? Any poster that shows up on my wall can show up on your wall, thanks to the Morj store. That's right. Omar says, "No, it needs a frame." Yeah, okay, so hold on. This is actually pretty funny. Hold on. There was a frame. It's don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Ooh says, "That's Waffalo's art." Yeah, the artist is Waffalo. But we work with... I've met Waffalo. I've worked with Waffalo. You guys can go ahead and order that right now. The size you can get it in is bigger than that size, I believe. This size is for me. For what do you call? Actually, no, it is. I'm not 100% on the sizes, but the size is pretty big. All right, it just looks smaller because I'm way over here, but it's pretty big. So the main thing is there's more art by Waffalo that's going to be going through the Morj store in a little bit. The FPS King Gaming says, "Mr. Morj, I took 3 finals today and did good. What was your Momo theory that couldn't come true because of the raid failing? You never dropped the vid." Oh, my Momo theory that never came true. Okay. The Momo theory that never came true is an interesting one. First of all, shouts to everybody who had finals this week. Finals, difficult stuff, right? That's why I didn't go back to school, because it's just not fun having to take tests. Like, once you're an adult, you shouldn't have to take tests, in my opinion. But yeah, I know that this is finals week, so I hope that this helps a little bit, getting to tune into the stream or whatever. I hope the entertainment helps a little bit. That's all I gotta say. So, the Momo theory that I had was, basically this was before we understood what Wano actually was, so the structure of Wano, right? So for a long time, we're trying to figure out, what does opening the borders of Wano mean? What does opening the borders of Wano mean, right? So it was unknown what that would mean because we didn't understand the setup of Wano basically being like, the fact that it's like a giant well or a basin, I suppose you would say. So we didn't know that, right? So try to transport your brains back to before we found that out, right? So before, when we thought Wano was just an island that's raised, right? We thought Wano is just an island that's raised. The two problems with getting to Wano are, one, that it's too high up to reach. That was problem number one. And two, that there's bad weather, right? So that was believed to be the two problems, okay? So the theory that I had for a bit was basically, what if the solution to those two problems, it sounded for a long time like the answer was Wano had to be lowered to sea level and the bad weather had to be removed. So I was like, well, those sound like two things that Momonosuke himself could potentially do, depending on the full extent of the power of his dragon fruit, right? So I thought it'd be really interesting if there's a huge moment down the line where literally, if something happens, something really bad, I had various I was like, different things could happen. Maybe Wano's hit by fucking Pluton or something like that, or Blackbeard attacks it or something like that. I thought that there's something that could potentially happen that, not necessarily over the course of the Wano arc, this is general theory, or even maybe something from Kaido's doing or something like that, so potentially during the Wano arc. This is all just spitballing, right? I thought, what if something happens that makes it so that the base of Wano starts to crumble? And so Momonosuke literally has to lower the entire island with flame clouds down to sea level, and then Momonosuke, assuming that he has some degree of mastery over the Dragon Devil Fruit by that point, also removes the bad weather surrounding Wano. So in that sense, Momonosuke single-handedly would be able to, I guess, open the borders of Wano country. Remember, this is before we understood the whole truth about Wano. This is back when we all just thought that Wano is just a raised island. We thought it's just a raised island, and we thought it's got bad weather, and that's why it was so difficult to get to Wano, right? So I thought, wouldn't it be cool if Momonosuke himself puts Wano literally on his back, lowers it down to the sea level, and removes the bad weather? That was the theory. Arvind Jaya Kumar, welcome to the Yonko. Thanks for joining. Swizzle says Morj got background decoration and it's the one he's selling. Shake my head. Listen, you could look at it that way, or you could view it as the ones, it's background decoration that that I'm making available to everybody else to be able to get access to as well. You see, everyone can have it. Electro Yellow says, lol, I have finals tomorrow and I'm watching. Yeah, you don't gotta study, right? That's what the rest of the semester was for, right? Don't even worry about that at this point. Just chill, take your mind off things. The best thing you can do before a finals tomorrow is just to relax your brain. You guys want to know my strategy for finals? My strategy for finals is pretty good. Siomunum Moon says, Morj, congrats on the newborn baby girl. Oh, we're back to the story that I've just had a child. Interesting. TCB is in here, says Morjin. We haven't had a Morjin time in a while. So TCB, all right, TCB's here. Let's all corner him and ask him questions. All right, TCB. The people want to know, what is the future of One Piece scanlations? Because I've already said, I'm with TCB for the moment. And I would like to stick with you guys because I like you guys and, you know, I consider us friends somewhat. But at the end of the day, if it gets to a point where you're like, what if these other scans catch up to you? What if they become just as good as you, huh? And what if they're always a day ahead, huh? What am I to do? My hands would be tied. TCB, we want the truth. We want the answers. Not in an accusatory way. Just, do you have anything to share for the people about your opinion on the future of One Piece scans? Not One Piece scans like that site One Piece scans, but you know what I mean. The scans, man. The scans. What's the future of the scans? What's going on? FPS King Gaming says, Morj signed with TCB. I'm signed with TCB. I've signed a contract with TCB. But this contract has like a million loopholes and clauses that allow me to escape the contract if needed. At the moment, it's more of a handshake contract. I'm with you guys. I'm on board, TCB. John Ross says, Emu water fruit theory. Maybe they use Haki on all the standing water, negating devil fruit powers and weakening the users to kill them as a suppression tactic. Devil fruit users can't swim is world government propaganda. That's interesting. If Emu has Haki of that level, that'd be pretty crazy to just affect the entire sea. That's insane. Yumi Tazoa says, am I the only one who actually enjoyed One Piece on Fridays? Look, man, I have to do this for YouTube. I can't. I would love to. If I had it my way, I would go several weeks sometimes without reading One Piece. If I had it my way, here's what I think I would do. I would probably let Oda put out 3 chapters at a time, then read it during the break week, and then take another 3-week break. That's what I like doing. That's my preference. That's kind of what I'm doing with Chainsaw Man right now, although I can't do that anymore because of certain reasons. Yeah, my preference is always... It depends at what point in the story One Piece is at. Like, post Dressrosa, I remember I took a nice long break. I got to binge read almost all of Zou at once. Whole Cake Island, once things really started going, I was reading week to week because I was really invested. It depends on where the story's at. If I feel like, it would really benefit from me saving up a few chapters, then I generally prefer waiting a few chapters. If it's like at a really important section, I'm week to week. But right now, I always have to be week to week, just because that's the way we're at, right? TCB, where'd you go? Come back, guys. Ah, fuck, we scared him off. I'm sorry. You don't have to answer any questions. You can just join and say Morj time. I'm sorry. All right. Tom says, the best way to study is for you and a friend in class to take turns explaining the information to each other or explaining how to solve a problem. That would require making friends in the class. And to do that, you would have to show up to the class. I was more of a... Well, this is something you could only do. You can't do this in STEM classes. This is a humanities only. So in humanities classes, you can pretty much skip every class because usually the lectures will just be online. The readings or whatever will just be online. So you can pretty much skip every class and then just cram a shit ton the day before. Okay? This is reliant on how good your cramming ability basically is. So what I would do is basically if I have a big government exam or something like that or whatever the thing is, I would cram a bunch the night before, nothing crazy, right? Cram a bunch the night before, and then when I woke up in the morning, I had this rule, okay? So like my brain is at like this weird, completely drained, super tired, 5% capacity thing as I go to sleep. I get minimal sleep, like 3 hours of sleep, right? So just a little bit, practically just a nap. So heavy cram, you get a little bit of a nap to let your brain rest. So your brain is all foggy and stuff like that when you wake up because there's all this information. My rule when I woke up was don't think, okay? Don't think at all. So I kept my mind completely clear. I would just roll out of bed, walk straight like 10, 15 minutes to the classroom, brain at zero capacity. I don't think anything. I don't think a single thought. I don't try and recall anything. I don't try and remember like, okay, what was the this, that, or whatever from yesterday that I remembered. I'm like, no, just go in, empty mind. So you get there, and then like a robot, you open the test, and then you unlock the door, and then all of the information just comes spilling out, right? That was my key, okay? So just cram a bunch, so it's just, at least this is how my brain worked, right? Cram a bunch, so it's all just jumbled up in there. You get a tiny bit of sleep, so you rest up, right? You rest up, you get enough brain juice that you can go take a test or whatever. Then when you wake up, you don't try and overcomplicate anything, all right? Just trust on your short-term recall when the time comes. And then you just go walk in, and then you just let it all out. And it just comes all out. You go as fast as you can, kind of, because you don't want to let the information get too cluttered. All right, you don't want to overthink it, all right? Just get all the information out, done. Out of there. And then you wipe all that information from your brain for the rest of your life. That's why I don't know shit about government right now. Because, like, in theory, I would take government classes that, spanned a full semester. But in reality, it was more like a 1-2 day intense session of learning and then unlearning information. So I retained very little knowledge about government. Fatingo, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 2 months. This chapter showed Frankie having heart eyes when Vega showed up. This once again confirms that Frankie will have hot, steamy sex with Vegapunk. Yeah, man. That's definitely the direction One Piece is going. Arvind Jayakumar, thank you very, very much for the $50 donation. You're insane. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Your arc analysis vids and some stream discussions, Marvel Ruining Cinema, are peak content. Thank you. For the amount of quality time I've gotten out of you, you deserve more. Thanks, man. I really, really appreciate that. That's really, really sweet of you to say. If everyone actually paid you at the value you gave them, you wouldn't be here. All right, well, we don't have to think about it like that, but I appreciate that that's the way that you look at it. So I really do. I really do. Thank you. Appreciate it. Dylan Dean says awful advice, LMAO. No, it's great advice. Well, actually, you know what? I think everybody's brain works different ways, right? So maybe that works for some people. Maybe that doesn't work for others. It worked really, really, really well for me. That's all I gotta say. It does not work for things that... The thing with STEM courses is that you always need... You need to do things in practice, right? It's not about cramming and uncramming, right? Humanities courses are generally about you learn the concept, right? You learn the concept, you have to be able to regurgitate your knowledge of the concept. That's pretty much what humanities is. Some of it's applied, like you get some example of some shit. But usually if you learn the concept, you should be able to regurgitate what the concept means, right? That's pretty much it. Andy Zhang says, you feeling better, dude? Great question. I'll repeat what I said from the beginning of the stream, which is that I got mostly better. Then on Saturday, I drank a lot. And then that reset my progress bar a little bit. So right now, I'm close to fully better, but not quite there. But I'm close to pretty much better. I think one really good night of sleep tonight will probably do it. But my sleep schedule is also really fucked right now. It's just the way it is. Thanks, Arvin. Thanks again. Virgil Hawkins says, Manga Morj, question mark. It's delayed one more week. That's all I gotta say. It'll be a good video, though. Mo Kami says, bro, you can definitely finesse STEM classes. I mean, I barely took STEM classes in college just because that wasn't my major. Like, does economics count as STEM? I had to take that. I had to take econ. But I barely had to take any STEM stuff. So I don't know about that. I always just assumed from the way my engineering friends and stuff talked about is that you can't just easily cram for STEM. Cigar Verk says, bruh, I was here for One Piece chapter. Yeah, we can talk One Piece. Hold on. Let's look at One Piece. BR One Piece 101 says, Morj, why so late with the discussion? No, we talked about it last week. This is just talking about it some more. Also, let me take a look real quick at the Viz translations, because people said that the Viz translations were drastically different. I actually did not look at the Viz translations. Didn't get a chance. Let's see. I'm just going to look at the Devil Fruit Dreams part, because that's the important part, right? Okay. All things are brought into this world with hope, even the devil fruits. Every devil fruit is a possibility for human evolution that someone desired. If only it could be like this, if only I could be like that. All of those powers represent the many branches of the future of humanity, but that unnatural status... How is that different? Why are people saying that this is really different from the TCB scans? It seems very similar to me. It seems very similar in that it's vague as to what the exact source of the devil fruits are. But it sounds as though whether you want to interpret it as artificial creation or just people's desires, hopes, etc. being brought to life through magic, right? It sounds like the same definition for devil fruits. I think it's fine, right? For the moment, I'm assuming it's not referring to science. It sounds just like it sounds like the source of devil fruits is basically the most romantic creation process possible, which is just that the things that people believe, they believe in so strongly that they gain life. That's really cool. Loud Waffle says, hey Morj, congratulations for your World Cup win. Can someone fill me in? What's happening in the World Cup? I don't actually... What's happening? Who's winning? What's the World Cup bracket? I don't want to dwell on this too long. I'm just curious. Okay, we're in the knockouts. Okay, so we're not in the tournament stage, right? I don't know how this works. I really don't know. I've not watched a single game of the World Cup so far. Light Yagami is asking, do you think devil fruits are man-made, originated from a supernatural entity, or something else in between? I like the idea. If Oda stops it right here, I like where it's at personally. I don't think that... Okay, for me, if they're man-made, I think that's the least fun explanation to me. I love the sense of the One Piece world and the idea that... To me, the idea that anything you can imagine is something that's a possibility that exists in the world, right? That is something that's more romantic, more magical, more fantastic, more fitting to my feeling of what type of a series One Piece is, than if it has a technical explanation like all devil fruits are something that some scientists from the ancient kingdom made or something. You know what I mean? I prefer the idea that it's blurring the lines between logic and myth, in the sense that it can be understood that over the centuries, people's desires in some manner were so strong or transcendent that they became literal, magical abilities that manifested in the world. I really like that idea, and I don't personally want or need a technical explanation of how that happens. Okay, so that's my favorite possibility if we kind of just leave it here. Now, my least favorite, as I said, was the technical science thing. Like, if they're all created by someone like a Vegapunk, but from the Void Century. That's my least favorite, personally. The other option of, okay, they are created by some individual sentient magical being, like the sea god. Well, it can't be the sea god, right? Because the sea god, or Mother Nature, whatever, doesn't like this stuff. But you know what I mean. If it was some sort of godlike being that created all of the devil fruits after, I don't know, fucking hearing out humanity's desires or something like that, that's less fun to me, but still interesting. Still interesting. I think that the explanation that we got here is probably where it's at right now is my favorite spot for the explanation of devil fruits. But I do get the sense that Oda's probably going to clarify more the further we go. So I'm sure there's possibly something more to it. That's all I'll say. The video that I have coming out next, it was supposed to come out tomorrow, but I wanted some time to think it over, basically. So it's coming out Wednesday now. The video that I have coming out next will clarify more my breakdown or analysis of how I think this explanation fits with the ideas of the series so far. But the fact is, there's still a lot that we don't know. One of None says, what do you think about Icon Mav's video on why Kaido didn't have Awakening? I don't know who Iconic Mav is. So I didn't see the video. Nine or Not a Bot says, I find it funny that Zoro is so emotionally unavailable even though he had the least traumatic backstory for all the Straw Hats. Rob and I can understand. I don't think it has to be tied to that, right? Luffy had Luffy wears his emotions on his sleeve, and he went through some rough stuff through his childhood, losing Sabo and everything like that. I think that Zoro's just naturally, he's just naturally, it's just naturally who he is. Khalad Suleiman says, good thing Gomu Gomu was retconned as Nika's fruit because there's only one reason to want to stretch that bad. That's... That's funny. Yeah, there should probably be a big dick fruit, right? If we're really getting down to it, there's some fruits out there that are going to be some questionable ass fruits, right? If it's really a lot of people's desires. I don't know. Just a devil fruit, the only thing it does is increase your dick size. That's got to be a fruit, right? Ender Ayanami says, assuming your scenario, where's all the info we get? I don't know. Fucking Laugh Tale or something like that? I guess not this arc. So maybe Laugh Tale, right? JK Kane, thanks for being a Yonko member for 2 months. I showed my mom the new One Piece art book, and all she had to say was, why are all the boobs so huge? LMAO. Okay, that's just the way it is. It's a series that's... it's just the way it is. It's just what... you know what's funny is I think that Oda put out an interview or something recently where he was like, his own daughter asked him that, or something along those lines. I'm pretty sure that's a thing that he said in an interview. He was like, yeah, my daughter got old enough that she asked, like, Dad, why do you draw such big boobs all the time? Japanese Jim says, has anyone talked about Rubber Hose animation and how Gear 5th is inspired from that? Do you think that this was intentional given the whole rubber thing? Yeah, Rubber Hose animation, for those of you who don't know, that's like the old school... I don't want to get it wrong. This is like the old school type black and white cartoons animation that you used to see. So, I guess obviously, I don't want to go so far as saying that Oda's initial concept was Rubber Hose animation fighting style, and then he shortened that to just rubber, because it's possible that just in terms of translations and stuff like that, that's not how Oda learned the word Rubber Hose animation or whatever, but it is at the very least, I think it's definitely a possibility, and I think it is at the very least a very at worst case scenario, even if Oda didn't know, it's a really, really nice coincidence that Luffy's true power is basically rubber hose, like turning the world into a rubber hose animation verse where he can kind of do what he wants with. And the unawakened version of that is just being a rubber man. Radman says one of the best. This is Aofiji. I'm not gonna call him Radman. You can't change your name that many times, dude. At a certain point, it's just like it's the boy who cried wolf. We can't respect it anymore, you know. So Aofiji says one of the best reveals in the series. Let me know, Morju. Best reveals in the series. Yeah, I think that this was a really important reveal for the story. Really, really important reveal. Loved it. John Ross says I made a devil fruit to turn myself into a pickle. It's Pickle Ross. Ethan Malolakis says favorite Straw Hat. Don't even worry about it, dude. Sheriff Lafitte says Kizaru has some interesting links to Vegapunk, like his powers are used for Pacifista and his close relationships with Vegapunk's bodyguard. So excited to see him. Yeah, Kizaru is kind of the perfect character to show up for this setup, right? Kizaru Sentamaru, that's a dynamic. Kizaru Vegapunk, like Kizaru's kind of been Vegapunk's go-to model toy to replicate stuff so far, right? So I don't know. We kind of just got to see how is Kizaru's sole purpose just to show up here and get fucked up, or is his character actually gonna have some very important interactions and stuff like that, and is he gonna have a more complicated role here with like actual dialogue and exchanges and things like that? I don't know. Raydel Ninja says, first off, here's my not regular Morj thirst. Okay, first off, here's my not regular Morj thirst post. Okay. Secondly, do you think we're gonna get a full-on fight between the Straw Hats and CP0? It's there. It's like happening, right? It's just I don't view Kaku and Stussy. Maybe they prove me wrong next chapter, but I just don't view Kaku and Stussy as significant problems for the Straw Hats. I feel like Lucci's the only problem. And then, to me, it's like, on the list of problems that the Straw Hats have right now, you've got Lucci, the Seraphim, and then Kizaru on his way. So Kaku and Stussy are just not quite there, in my opinion. Kaku, I think, I don't think Oda's been doing that much to make Kaku look like a formidable force as of late. He kind of used Kaku as the gag character to show off how good Vegapunk's traps and, machinations are. Dr. Farewell says, thoughts on the MAD mad ship being the one Frankie found? I don't know how important it's going to be. The mad ship. How much of it is Easter eggs? How much of it is Oda just trying to make things more connected? I don't know if Easter egg is the right word for it. And then how much is this actually being really important? Okay, guys, we got to get the stream likes to 300. We got to get to 300. Fiji says, bro got a roof piece wallpaper in the background. Is it like a constant reminder to cook the Wano critique video or what? LMFAO. Wano critique video is taking a while. Okay, wait. Is everybody ready for... trying to think of how to spin this as good news. It's a big video. I guess that's the way to spin it. It's a big video. It's not going to be out by Christmas is the thing. I thought I could get it out by Christmas. It's not going to be out by Christmas. I definitely want it out during a break week. Part of the problem is that the next One Piece chapter is coming out basically the 23rd. So there's not really a clean break week. I can get it in before Christmas. BR One Piece 101 says, why would someone want the rust fruit? Most likely someone was getting fucked up by their swordsman friend very frequently. Maybe someone was losing to swordsmen all the time, so they got mad and they're like, if I could just destroy these swords, any weapon that was used against me, if I could just destroy it. I don't know. I'm sure you can think of something for everything. Even the door fruit. Yeah, the door fruit, the explosions fruit. The jacket fruit, somebody last stream came up with a really good explanation for the jacket fruit, which is what if there was a couple that lived on a winter island, and they just loved the other person so much that, I don't know, he wanted her to feel warm or something. They wanted to fuse and be one person, and I forget how it was explained. He wanted her to be warm, or she wanted him to be warm, or something. So one of them becomes a jacket, and then just that was the idea. I think it makes sense. Caleb Brown says, "Thanks for entertaining at work, Morj. Love you, boo." Caleb Brown's back to the weird comments again. Ben Junker says, "You still plan on getting the Wano video out around the holiday season?" Yeah, I'm trying. It's a long ass video. At the end of the day, I always want a video to be good rather than rushed. It's the same reason that the Manga Morj stuff has been taking so long. I can't speak right now. Anime Dimension, thanks for being a Yonko member for a month. I'm rewatching One Piece, and I noticed Koala from Reverie is same one from Fisher Tiger Flashback. You notice Koala from Reverie is the same one from the Fisher Tiger Flashback. I think Fishman Island is more connected to Ancient. What? Yeah, from the Revolutionary Army. It's the same one. Yeah. Yeah, that's a well-known thing. Not to insult you, but that is known. That Koala, it's the same person. Fishman Island is more connected to the Ancient Kingdom. I mean, it's most likely important. I think all of the major races, right? So, Fishman people, Elbaf giants, Zoe people, etc. BR One Piece 101 says, "Come here, baby. I want to wear you." Her question mark. Okay, it's weird if you phrase it like that. That's not how it went. It was much more romantic in this hypothetical. Tongus Vongus says, "I think Blackbeard waiting on the island in the most straight line down the Grand Line, but Luffy going completely sideways is funny. He's overestimating Luffy, or he predicted Law's actions well." Yeah, Blackbeard definitely guessed wrong if he thought that was going to be Luffy. I mean, he didn't know Luffy at all in that case, which he should at this point. Random person says, "Bro was watching Two Piece first time around if he ain't noticed Koala." No, because here's the thing. You guys don't understand. Myself and most of us here, there's just a huge gap between people that are really, really into the series and remember all the little itsy bitsy details and shit versus the casual viewer. One Piece is a very, 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 very long series. Very long series. There's nothing wrong with being most normal people are casual fans of these series. That's the thing. Most normal people are casual fans. So there's nothing wrong with it, because I'm a casual fan of plenty of other series, right? That's like, okay, if we use JoJo's Bizarre Adventures as an example, right? I can't name you there's so many people who could probably name you every stand from part 3 or something like that, or every single, the name of every villain or whatever from part 4 or something like that they ran into, or the name of every single location in Morio Town or something like that. You can enjoy a series and get a lot out of it and enjoy major parts of it and really, really feel like a fan of the series without obsessively knowing all of the minor details and connections and forgetting characters here and there and stuff like that. That's perfectly normal. Stuff like that just happens when you're not, huge, I guess, next level fan of a series. And One Piece is one of the largest series out there, so it's hard. Spade, thanks for being a Yonko member for 2 months. Chainsaw Man vid, question mark? Yeah, just wait for next week. It'll be good, I promise. Green Princess, welcome to the Yonko. Thank you for joining. No, that's one of the things. So my channel, it really can only appeal to... There's levels of One Piece fandom, right? So my channel, unfortunately, it can only appeal to a certain section of One Piece fans at the end of the day, who are a few layers deep into the series, where all of the references or breakdowns, etc., feel relevant to you. If you go a few layers out of that, then you're just not going to be as interested, I think, in the stuff. Arvind Jayakumar, to everyone in chat, thank you very, 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 very much, man. You do not need to do this again. I appreciate it. To everyone in chat, consider joining the Yonko. It's just $5 and Morj has given us more. This is not a fucking plug. I don't know who this person is. I don't remember him showing up before. I appreciate you very, very much. You do not need to push people to do stuff. Plus, he puts out usually good videos. Also, like the stream there. Okay, I don't know who. Thank you, Arvid. I appreciate you very, very much. But you don't have to keep doing this. I appreciate it. First time around was enough. Thanks a lot, though. I appreciate it quite a bit. You've definitely made my day at the very least. Thank you. Fiji saying, like the stream, people, let's get it to 500. But they're not even at 400. How are they going to get to 500? All right. Thomas Musgrave says, I would still hate Skypiea if I didn't watch this channel. A lot of people, you know what's funny about the Skypiea turnaround? Is that a lot of people, like, it's the reverse circle jerk, right? So for the longest time, it was like, well, Skypiea is that kind of not... It's the One Piece arc that you can kind of skip, or the One Piece arc where it's just not as good, or stuff like that, right? Or kind of the sidetracked One Piece arc or whatever, right? That was the belief for a long time. Gotham Sajith, thank you. Welcome to the Yonko. It was like that for as far as I remember. Then things just started becoming more and more and more important. And then I think especially by the end of Wano, it became the cool opinion, right? So now it's the cool opinion that, yeah, Skypiea, actually a fantastic arc. One of the best One Piece arcs, etc., right? So it turned around really, really hard. But what's funny to me is that most of the change in opinion of Skypiea is just because there's been more lore connections to things from Skypiea. So I swear that a lot of the newfound appreciation for Skypiea and people saying that it's a great arc, it's mostly just because people are like, wait, it says Sun God here, and then it says Sun God here, and this is a really big deal. Oh, and the drums, and the dance, and the silhouette, oh my god, Skypiea is so good. None of this changes how good of an arc Skypiea is. I feel like it's not as though people went back and rewatched or reread Skypiea and were suddenly like, you know what? Oh my god, this arc is so much better. It's literally just like fucking seeing images on Twitter or like in YouTube videos or like on Reddit or something like that of like, OMG, look at this connection. It's like the meme of the dude pointing at the board and being like, oh, look at this. And people are like, wow, you know what? The story is so much better. This Skypiea arc is so much better. It's like, no, if you reread it, the story itself is still pretty much the same fucking thing, which is, you know, it is not exactly one of the most... It's definitely a lighter story for the Straw Hats in general. It's definitely got some of the better side characters in One Piece for sure, with Wiper and everything like that. But it also doesn't have necessarily, you know, the best fights, the highest tension, or most investment out of the main characters, etc. for most of the arc. NL is really the only standout threat that generates some real interest over the course of the arc. And the Nolan Kalgara story honestly outshines most of the main story of the actual island. I think that Skypiea is really, really fun to enjoy when you're rereading all of One Piece and you're coming off of Alabasta and you're in the mindset and you're ready for a more meandering sort of side trip through a less high-octane storyline like Skypiea that has almost nothing to do with the events that are taking place in the real world, right? But the reality is that I think no matter how many connections go back to Skypiea, that doesn't change, you know, how gripping the story itself is, right? It adds more little hints that connect more to future stuff to make the arc more relevant. But it's just funny to me how many people are saying that Skypiea is like a goated One Piece arc at this point, when I guarantee those same people, I think a very small number of people went back even after all the Wano connections and actually like reread Skypiea from start to finish to suddenly have it in have it in their top 5 arcs, you know? Fontingo says Arvind was the lurking legend. I mean, I appreciate that, dude. BFJ97 says, how long is this arc going to be? Also, is Lucci getting low diff next chapter? How long is this arc going to be? I don't know, man. I don't know. How long is the arc gonna be? It's so hard to tell at this point because it's just like Kizaru's about to show up, and that could really shake things up. Seraphims are about to fight Straw. I don't know why we're getting such extreme fights out of the blue. I've said this before, but it's crazy to me that Wano had so much build up and setup for so long. And I swear to God, the fights right now, I'm more excited for these Seraphim battles than I was for the Straw Hats versus the Tobiropo or the Calamities. That's just the way it is. That's how I feel right now. That's how I feel. How do you guys feel? $9,91616 says, I also love the art around Skypiea and Water 7. It's peak Oda's art in my book. Yeah, I think that... How do I say this? I think that Skypiea arguably has... It has my favorite art style and everything like that. Yeah, I think it has my favorite art style in One Piece. I think that... Let me show you guys something. Let me show you guys a little something. There's certain things that... Because there's just been there's a shift over time in terms of... I think that Oda's overall art style, it's a combination of two things. So it's art style and scene direction. I think that those two things were at their best sometime between Jaya and Water 7. Even Enies Lobby, as we hit the latter parts of Enies Lobby, Oda was having to fit more and more stuff per chapter. Let me show you guys something. Something that I think would never happen today. But that you don't know what it is till it's gone. It's one of those things, right? So let me show you guys. All right. See if you guys agree with me on this. Maybe nobody cares. But I think it matters a little bit. Okay? So here is from Jaya. This isn't an art thing. This is a scene direction thing. All right? This is from Jaya. I think that you can read... It's a really small thing. Okay? So Luffy has just heard about Bellamy and what Bellamy did. Okay? He's heard what Bellamy did to Cricket. So Luffy's running to go fight Bellamy. All right? So just this little scene, it's really short, but he's running. You get multiple panels of him running. He's getting his flashbacks. It's so minor. He trips on this. He stumbles over this little branch here. So he stumbles over this little branch. Then he keeps going. And he keeps going. And he's getting the flashbacks and everything like that. And he's slowly getting more angry. Angrier. Steam coming out of his nose. And then he's really angry and he's really off. Okay? It's so minor. It's just 2 pages. But these 2 pages wouldn't exist in One Piece today. There's no time for it. There's no time for something like this to play out in One Piece today. In One Piece today, you want to fit in as much as possible in a chapter. Whereas back here, it's like, can you imagine Oda taking this much time spent on Luffy running and including just a little nuance of Luffy, I don't know, stumbling over a little branch on the way. It's just something that we wouldn't get these 2 panels today. We wouldn't get most of these panels today. Most of these panels would be condensed to 1 page. We would probably just really need this line. And I think maybe a couple 1 to 2 faces of him being angry, and maybe most of these montage things being condensed into, I don't know, 1-2 panels or something like that. I don't know. It's really small, but you just wouldn't get a scene pace like this. You wouldn't get a scene where it's like he's really taking his time to show the build up of Luffy running over to Bellamy. It just doesn't exist anymore. Things move fast. Things have to move fast. We get single panels to show these things. I think even this, I don't think we'd get the build up to the realization of what Luffy's bounty is. I think that this whole scene, which I really like as a little gag scene, but like also a hype scene, right? Of you get the backdrop, you get a shot of just the piss stream first. All big panels, mind you, right? This is only 5 panels fit into a page. All big panels, right? Taking his time, singing the song, etc. More detailed background or whatever. Really you're letting the scene really breathe and setting it up that this guy's drunk, singing, etc. He's having a nice night. Calm, peaceful night. He's got not a care in the world, etc. Then there's a bird flying by in a newspaper. And we kind of take our time through his thought process. Really take our time through his thought process, his memory of the guys that, that they made fun of today. And then, we take our time on the double take. Him counting, recounting, counting, recounting, and then finally the realization. And again, only 5 panels on this page. It's just a difference in pacing and scene direction that I do miss from earlier One Piece, personally. I don't think... So I'm just opening up the recent chapter just to kind of browse. Yeah, things just move really fast. The goal is maximum information in maximum amount of time. I think that the gag that I just talked about of this guy reading the bounty poster, I think if that were to happen today, it would all happen in the span of about 3-4 panels or something like that. Maybe 3. That's it. Yeah, guys, let's get the stream likes to 500. I think we can do that. Okay, let me catch up on the supers I missed. Give me a second. 9 or Notabot says, devil fruits have to be explained. It's literally the second mystery revealed after One Piece itself. There has to be a reason why you die if you eat 2. Yeah, I guess that it would be nice to know why you die if you eat 2. That would be nice to know. For me personally, it's something that I just don't mind not being explained. Maybe for other people, it's a very important thing. For me, I like where it's at right now. I like the explanation that we've got right now for it. John Ross says, Vegapunk comes out and regains control of the Seraphim, but eventually the Gorosei show up in person to take them back and clean house. If Vegapunk just regains control of the Seraphim, the Gorosei show up in person. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't want the Seraphim to be taken out before the final war. I would really not like that, personally. I would love to see them in action, get a good gauge of how strong they are in the comparison to the Strats and everything like that. I would love to see them fight, that's for sure. But I don't personally want to see them... Because it just makes the world government feel like it's really lacking. I put out a whole video talking about how, with the addition of the Seraphim, it feels like the world government has really upped the ante and kind of resettled itself as basically clearly having reestablished, I suppose, itself as clearly having the strongest military force out of all the existing ones in the sea. But if they lose the Seraphim in this fight, and God forbid Kizaru gets fucking taken out here. If Kizaru gets fucking taken out here, then the final war, it's just Akainu, Fujitora, who I don't think is going to be on the world government side at the end of the day. Let's say Akainu and Green Bull really as the only two baddies that really matter that are walking around, right? That's pretty much it, right? Kid Smitty 94 says Zoro versus Kid Mihawk officially on the table. Yeah, it's exciting. I think that'll be a great matchup. Sean Easton says, do you think Devil Fruit Awakening comes from living the dream? Big Mom and Kaido were both addicts who settled for staying in their lands, diluting their dreams. I don't know, man. To me, it's just like, what about the Impel Down guards? Were they living the dream? It just... Like, what does that mean? Was Doflamingo living the dream? Because Doflamingo had a lot more that he wanted to do than just control Dressrosa. Who else is awakened? Who's living the dream? Is Kid living the dream? I guess so. I don't know. No one in particular says Lucci upgraded his zone to mythical Zoan by becoming the embodiment of bloodthirsty evil throughout the course of his life. That is why he now has a deity energy sash like Luffy. I don't know if he's got a mythical zone, dude. I just don't think I don't think he's a mythical zone. I think what the text box says is what the text box says. I think it's just a normal zone. Loud Waffle says there are 900... Oh, no, we covered this. All right, everybody. It's time to discuss something very important again. What you see in the background right now is an absolutely beautiful poster. If you would like to have this for yourself, let me show you what it looks like close up. Let me show the people. You see this? Look at this. Am I crazy, or is this more epic than I mean, I guess it's supposed to be more epic, right? It's a fan augmentation, I suppose, of the scene, right? But this is the coolest depiction you will ever see of the Battle of Onigashima. So if Roof Piece was hyped to you, if that's a standout part of One Piece, look, you could have it on your wall forever. That's all I'm saying. Just hit the link, go to morjstore.com. Anyway. Arvind Jai Kumar says you couldn't put a frame around it. I'm trying to help you here, and you tape a picture to your wall. No, the frame, it broke. There is a frame. I was showing everybody earlier. Hold on. It's just, it's a whole thing. All right, it's broken. Don't worry about the frame. The poster would not come with the frame regardless. You just need the poster. Raul says, Morj, I want a poster of you. You can probably do that yourself. You could probably set that up yourself. Zarn Velis says Cross Guild is a true wild card. What do you think they plan? What do I think Cross Guild plans? I don't think that looking at the 4 Yonko crews right now, I think Cross Guild is ultimately the least important of the 4. But I think that they can provide some good matchups and stuff like that. I literally don't know what happens with Cross Guild. I think that it's a Cross Guild. I would like, let's say this. If we're talking about immediate stuff, I would love to see Cross Guild actually against the Marines for a little bit. Maybe we get, because if we're getting Kizaru versus, I always thought that Mihawk versus Kizaru would be a really cool matchup, but we're not going to get that, right? Because Kizaru's off to Egghead Island. I think it'd be really cool if we got something like Mihawk versus Fujitora or something like that. Not Mihawk versus Green Bull, because it's just Green Bull. Green Bull is the least exciting Admiral at this point, right? Gotham Sajid says, I wonder what Vegapunk's awakening will be like. Everyone seems to be awakened nowadays. Yeah, Vegapunk's awakening. So, would Vegapunk have awakening? I feel like if anyone would have mastered it, it's Vegapunk. But do you need to work out to get awakening? Because what Kaido said was, let's see what Kaido said. Kaido implied you got to work out, right? He says that, I think it's in chapter 1044. It says it's awakening. No, 1045, right? Okay, so Kaido says, hello? What does Kaido say? What does he say? It's 1046? A whole chapter off? Embarrassing. Okay, so Kaido says, awakening is what happens when your mind and body catch up to your powers. So you got to work out. I don't think Vegapunk's got it like that, because Vegapunk, he doesn't, he's just got his mind at peak shape, right? He doesn't work out. You got to work out. I would love to see what Kaku's giraffe awakening looks like if he has that. Ace-Buck Comeback says Toby Ropa power ranking. In my opinion, Ulti's the strongest. Why do you think Ulti's the strongest? Because she tanked. Okay, people say I don't think Ulti's the strongest. I think people say Ulti's the strongest because she didn't go down easily. Like, she had the most stamina, I suppose. But at the same time, uh, I think that Oda's just really. I think when it comes to power scaling, in my opinion, in my humble observation, I think that the thing that Oda is by far the least consistent with over the course of the entire story is how much damage characters can take. I think that is by far the thing that he's least consistent with. I mean, you can use so many characters as examples. You can use from Kinemon getting up from Kaido's attack to, like Kinemon got up from Kaido's attack. Like, Usopp gets up from God knows how many attacks. Like, I think there's so many points where you can point out straight up inconsistencies of, like, okay, why did the character get one-shotted right here, or, like, get completely taken out by this, but then later on these weaker characters are able to take. So I don't put too much stock into how much damage a character can or can't take. Okay, I don't think that's. I think that usually that in some ways that matters, right? Like when Oda's showing that, whoa, Kaido's able to take so much damage from so many people. Yeah, that's significant. But I think sometimes characters are just, they end up taking some hits and you kind of just are like, well, how come they're not dead? Or how come they're able to conveniently get back up a little bit later even though they should have been knocked out? Sometimes I think that it's just the way that the scene goes. It's just the way that Oda's writing it. Okay, so I put the least amount of stock in that. Okay? In terms of Tobiropo's strength, this might be controversial, but I genuinely think that kind of the portrayal that was being hinted at earlier, if people remember towards the beginning of the war, was that the characters that were closest to Calamity level were Who's Who and then Sasaki. And those were the two that were kind of closest to vying for the next spot, basically. I think it was strongly, strongly implied that Who's Who was the character that was closest to Calamity level, and that Queen viewed as the closest threat to trying to take a spot as a Calamity, right? That was just the sense I got. I think basically the way I got like, I think Who's Who is the strongest. I think between Sasaki, Ulti, even Black Maria, I think there's some, you can debate it either way. And then I think Page 1 is clearly at the bottom. That's all I got. And then X Drake, I don't even know what to say about that dude. He kind of sucks. I thought for the longest time that X Drake was probably much stronger than the rest of the Toby, or like at least stronger than the Tobiropo, if not much stronger. But I definitely don't think he's much stronger than Tobiropo at this point. I think he's right where he's supposed to be as a Tobiropo. Bato Baloo, thanks for being a Yonko member for 2 months. I'm so happy that the Seraphims are ultimately under the Gorosei's direct order. It does really balance the forces for the endgame stuff. Yeah, and I think that that is a good point, that because the Seraphim are ultimately under the Gorosei's order, it's likely that down the line we will still see them fighting on the world government side. I think that that's a good point. However, part of me is still worried at the end of the day that they just get fucked up here. I don't know. Cigarverk says, hey Morj, not to be a party pooper, but is that artwork bought because Waffalo, original artist for that, sells this on their website too? Don't worry, we work with Waffalo. This is all set up with Waffalo. Don't worry about it. Set up with Waffalo. He literally legally cannot sell it on his website right now, so I hope he's not doing that. When I say legally, I'm talking about contractually. We're doing it through the Morj store at the moment. Abyssal Leviathan says, in SBS Volume 73, Oda hypes up Green Bull, says he is super duper cool and cannot wait to draw him. Oda moment. I mean, here's the thing. It seemed correct when he was first introduced to us. Green Bull seemed really, really cool initially. Really, really, really cool initially. Green Bull, like, you guys remember, he was the character that debuted right before Oda went on his 1 month break. And he was kind of the really hype figure that we were left with during that 1 month break, right? And it seemed like he just destroyed King and Queen. His design looked cool at first. It seemed like he was kind of a badass at first. It just all went away. The hype died 1 chapter later. It was the craziest rise and fall I'd ever seen for a character. Because it's like, he dropped, and then we got like a full month to get really excited for him. And then as soon as we actually got to see him doing stuff, he disappointed. You know what Green Bull is like? I think it's like, okay, so you guys know how Boba Fett has the weirdest fandom right? Like he's just got this really widespread weird fandom in the Star Wars mythos for some reason, right? Which makes no sense because we all looking at the original trilogy, right? Looking at the original trilogy, what happened was he he basically goes out in the saddest, most most unspectacular, almost comically pathetic way right at the beginning of episode 6, okay? But the reason that Boba Fett became such a cultural icon was supposedly because we got to see a little bit of him in episode 5, and in episode 5 he basically concludes the story by capturing Han Solo, right? And because we saw so little of him, and because the one thing he did was technically a big deal, and he seemed like this just mysterious bounty hunter that we really didn't understand or whatever, because we saw so little of him, and the one thing he did was cool, it made him a very, very popular character coming out of that film because people were so excited to see what he does in the next film. And then there's a big gap before episode 6 comes out, so the Boba Fett hype can go through the roof. And then episode 6 comes out, and then it's like, oh fuck, he just sucks. Never mind, he just sucks. Okay, but it was too late because the hype for the mythos around the character, like the general attitude towards the character of how exciting he was in theory, had already snowballed way out of control. Which is why, even though Boba Fett ultimately turned out to be a bum, the image of the character was so strong in people's heads based off of the legend that developed out of episode 5, that it led to them doubling down and being like, no, you know what, we could still make Boba Fett cool, which leads to all of this other stuff like the Clone Wars and all of that, like Jango Fett and all of this stuff. Okay, long story short, Green Bull was like almost like Boba Fett, but the problem is that was the analogy that I was kind of leading to, but it doesn't really hold up, does it? Green Bull, the way he left off right before Oda took his long-ass break, I think it was kind of a Boba Fett type effect where, like, he shows up, he seems cool, we see so little of him, he does one really cool thing, which is capture King and Queen seemingly easily, and then we don't have One Piece for a solid month. That's a long period of time. So all we can do is get really excited about Green Bull. You guys may not remember, but, like, Green Bull was a hot topic coming out of the break. People were like, holy shit, how strong is he going to be? Is he going to fuck up the Straw Hat Alliance? Is he stronger than Kaido? A lot of people thought that. Is he the strongest Admiral? What's going to happen? Is it going to be everyone versus Green Bull? Is it going to be part 2 of Wano where the Marines versus, the Wano people and stuff like that? And then the One Piece manga returns and he loses immediately, or, he gets embarrassed immediately and runs away, right? So I guess if One Piece worked like Star Wars, where it's just movie-based or something like that, maybe Green Bull would have developed into some sort of a legend in the community. Like, imagine if we'd had to wait, like, 3 years before we get the next One Piece chapter or something like that. You would see Green Bull cosplay at conventions and stuff like that. You would see Green Bull fan art. I'd probably have a Green Bull poster I'm trying to sell to you guys in the background right now. I don't know. But the break was too short. Anyway, Tala Jahan, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 2 months. Found an interesting post highlighting fan Sanji double standards you might like. Pirate folk. Just imagine if Sanji was like Zoro or Jinbei's place. I don't get it. Pirate folk. I have to look this up. Is that what you're telling me? I have to look this up. Are pirate folk. Just imagine if Sanji was like Zoro or Jinbei's place. It's like Zoro or Jinbei's places. Okay, let's see. I'll show you guys in a second. Let me just vet this post first. Okay. I'm gonna show you guys. Let's see what this is. Okay. Imagine if Queen during the whole fight never used hybrid form, was in base form majority of the fight, was nerfed because he fought Marco 1v1 prior to fighting Sanji. Sanji would be trashed so hard for having such a hard fight with nerf-based Queen and laughed at that Queen never went hybrid. But for some reason, Zoro beating base King who went hybrid for one panel was exhausted after Marco is celebrated as some big achievement for Zoro, as it proves he's super mega strong. Or imagine if Sanji fought a Tobiropo for 30 chapters, was having the same difficulties Robin and Frankie fighting Tobiropo, needed to get saved by Tama's gifters from Tobiropo. Look, I don't think people genuinely think that Sanji is stronger than, that Jinbei is stronger than Sanji. I think very few people genuinely think that Jinbei is stronger than Sanji. It's just that Oda does little things to humiliate Sanji which he doesn't do to Jinbei, which makes it easier. I think if Oda wanted to portray Jinbei as stronger than Sanji, he would have just, like, how do I put this? If you're being honest with yourself, if you reread Onigashima, Oda puts a tremendous amount of emphasis, like even quoting Zoro and Sanji as the two wings of the Pirate King. He puts a tremendous amount of emphasis on the idea that Zoro and Sanji, they serve very similar positions and levels of importance in the crew in terms of what they have to do. Obviously, Zoro is going to be fighting the number one, and Sanji fighting the number two. But at the end of the day, they're the ones fighting the number one and number two, and this is their role, right? That was heavily, heavily emphasized throughout Onigashima. I think you got to be willfully a Sanji hater. Like, you have to be a Sanji hater to argue that Oda was trying to suggest that Jinbei is stronger than Sanji. I mean, Jinbei having a higher bounty than Sanji, that's not a new thing. Like, Sanji very often gets the short end of the stick bounty-wise. He did not have a higher bounty. He had the fourth highest bounty out of any slobby, right? That didn't mean that he was supposed to be weaker than Robin. He was still portrayed as, the monster trio with Luffy, Zoro, right? Same thing out of Dressrosa. He wasn't supposed to be weaker than, right? Like, he wasn't, weaker than all the characters who had higher bounties than him. He wasn't weaker than Usopp. It's just, Oda likes making fun of Sanji with bounties. That's all it is. So, Sanji being weaker than Jinbei, I don't know. But the arguments about the Zoro King fight and stuff, like, to me, just arguing about the details of the Zoro versus King or Sanji versus Queen, the way I looked at it is honestly just like, it's not even about like who is in hybrid or not hybrid or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I think they both struggled against their respective opponents. I think they both then got power-ups that were really significant power-ups. And then I think they both proceeded to smoke their opponents. That's basically the way I view it. I think Sanji and Zoro both beat King and Queen. Like, it's not about the difficulty over the course. Like, to me, it's just like, once they got their power-up, how hard was it for them? I think they both cleaned up pretty nicely once they got their power-ups. So what difference does it really make? Because their power-ups are where they're at right now, right? Wouldn't you evaluate them by how strong they're at now rather than when they began the fights? Gustavo Cisneros, thank you for upgrading your membership to Yonko tier. Trey Bird says, you awaken when your will and the will of your fruit align. Dofi, the puppet master, and the string fruit. Katakuri, the glue of the family, and Sticky Mochi. Freedom, Luffy, and the Nika fruit. I guess. What about the Impel Down Jailer Guards? What about the Impel Down Jailer Guards? What? I just want to know about them. Abyssal Leviathan says Green Bull is the number 4 jobber jack of the Admirals. I guess. Yeah. Igor Porfirio says Oda doesn't like to make fun of Sanji with bounties. He likes to make fun of Sanji. Yeah, true. In general, he likes to make fun of Sanji. That's true. Bounties is just a consistent way of him doing it, right? Justin Holland, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 2 months. Trying that question again. I feel like the devil fruits are like the rings from the lantern cores. The rings choose the user like the devil fruits. Yeah, maybe. That's an interesting idea. I mean, we know that, at least with Zoan fruits, right? They have a mind of their own in a sense. It is funny that in the One Piece world, the fruits so aggressively match the character. You know what I mean? Like, the fruits are always perfect for who the characters are. I remember Ohara made a... Back when we were doing the Wano report, Ohara was joking at one point about, like, when Kaido was assembling his crew, did he refuse anyone that wasn't a Zoan user? Like, what if he beat up a really strong captain who was willing to join him, and Kaido was just like, whoa, wait, are you not a Zoan user? Okay, never mind. Get the fuck out. So I wonder if those Zoan fruits, he force-fed them to captains that he wanted to keep as part of his crew. I don't know. Who knows? Seeing a lot of speculation about how the Impel Down Guards got the awakening. I just don't... Until we get some confirmation, I really don't know what to say about these theories. Sun Moon says Big Mom's crew got real lucky with fruits to personality. Yeah. Big Mom's crew, man, I think one of my regrets about Big Mom going out of the story so early, if she has, is that I would have loved to have seen more of her crew. Because she's got she's got the largest and zaniest pirate crew. Maybe not the largest, like some crews have lots of fodder, like Buggy's pirate fleet and stuff. But she's got the largest crew in terms of interesting character designs and characters that seem to have some level of abilities and, you know, fighting potential and stuff like that. So I would have loved to have seen more of Big Mom's crew. I thought it would be really, really cool if some more of them had gotten to take place and like show up in Wano, or I guess there just weren't enough room for matchups in Wano for the Big Mom pirates to. One thing I do wonder. Okay, this is a mini theory. I don't know if this is true or not, but Oda had Big Mom come over with her whole pirate crew and everything like that, right? He had her come over with her whole pirate crew to Onigashima, and then he set it up so that it was just Big Mom and Perospero that could really be there. I do wonder if the was the initial plan to have the rest of the Big Mom pirates also make it on land and participate in the battle, and then maybe Oda just cut some of them for time or for matchups. I wonder if that's possible. If he just realized at a certain point, like, wait, I just don't have space to include this many more characters getting fights, basically. So then he rolled with Perospero, since Perospero seemed like the antagonist that seemed most necessary to get some level of comeuppance, I guess, because of Pedro, although it wasn't really Perospero's fault that Pedro's suicide. I guess it kind of, I don't know, it's a complicated situation. But I don't know. I do wonder. Because why have all those other Big Mom parts show up then? I guess because it's just like, it would be too illogical for Big Mom to show up by herself, but then you have to remove them. Mugsby says, does it make sense for Devil Fruits to be scientific creations if people worship the sun god and Vegapunk called him an old god? ? I personally don't like the idea that Devil Fruits are scientific creations, because it's just like, aren't we already there? Isn't that the fun of what we're doing currently with Vegapunk having the artificial Devil Fruits and stuff like that? So are all Devil Fruits artificial? Doesn't that kind of suck the fun out of it a little bit, in my opinion? Isaiah Davis says the Gum Gum isn't in the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia. If so, how did Shanks know the name? Maybe it was just a fruit that's not officially labeled in the encyclopedia, but it's a fruit that's like talked about or something like that. I don't know. Cigarverk says, wait one sec. Cigarverk says, I guess Impel Down guards were forced to awaken. That is why they went insane and didn't achieve true awakening. We should not take Crocodile's word for it. Yeah, maybe that's possible. Justin Holland says maybe the reason Kaido and Big Mom weren't awakened was because they were meant to be examples of those who have become complacent, right? Again, I'm just like, I don't see why Doflamingo is that, though, right? Why isn't Doflamingo that? Right? Why isn't Katakuri that? What does complacent mean? Like, were they even complacent? Kaido is trying to make moves. And wouldn't they have gotten their wake? Like, I guess, sure, they've been complacent for a bit, but when they were on the rise, wouldn't that be when they've gotten their awakening? Right? It's not like they've always been emperors of the sea. Shanks is definitely sus. It was not in the old encyclopedia. It's in the new one, but it doesn't have a picture. Bernardo Borges says Kaido isn't awakened, the whole fish to dragon thing. Yeah, maybe Kaido was awakened. We don't know. Maybe the fish to dragon thing was the awakening. I would just like if Oda explains in an SPS, or something. SPS or Vivre card, I guess. I don't know. Explain it something. Luffy Goofy says, hi Morj, you said before that Luffy is the best written One Piece character. Please do a video on that, because that is quite the unpopular opinion. Okay, when I say best written, okay, when people say best written, they mean like a million different things. I don't know the context in which I said Luffy was the best written. I will say that I think that Luffy, there are things that have frustrated me about the direction. It definitely feels like, how do I explain this? there's a way in which Oda used to write Luffy that I haven't seen in a long time that I would like to not dwell on or go in depth in here. So let's, without talking about maybe what I wish we could see a bit more of out of Luffy in recent days, I will say that I think that Luffy as a character is a phenomenal character and one of the most, whether or not you believe it, I think that he is one of the most unique characters and standout characters, I think, in storytelling that I have read. For a lot of reasons, even though he does come across as one-dimensional in many ways, right? I think that the way that Oda uses him at many different points in the story and the way that... I don't think you could write a story like One Piece without... It only works, this long, long journey, because Luffy is the main character. It doesn't work with another character that really needs to go through more change or more, like, we need to dwell on their personal issues more and stuff like that, like traditional protagonists. And that's not to say traditional protagonists are bad or that Luffy's better for not having as much internal shit to go through frequently. I just think that there's a certain balance there with the way that Luffy is written, what he represents, what he brings to every arc and every sort of interaction in which he needs to bring about a certain change. I think it's very, very refreshing for the most part, for most of the series. And I think that he is genuinely a very unique protagonist. So when I say best written, that can mean like a million things. Do I think he's the most complex or the most, he goes through the most interesting arc or anything like that, or he's the most well-developed? No. I think as a character concept and a lot of the things that we get out of Luffy, they're things that I don't see out of other characters in the same way. And I'd have to do a full video to kind of explain what I mean by that. Luffy video at some point, for sure. Green Princess says, do you think Usopp or Nami could beat Hawkins? Depends if he draws some good cards, right? Wowful says Goku's written in a very similar way. See, that's the thing that I worried that people would assume is what I mean from this. Goku and Luffy are written on the surface level. Yeah, you could say like similar surface level personality types. I think what people don't get what I'm saying about Luffy is how the character is used and why he is the way he is, and the manner in which the character is used throughout the story is drastically different than the way Goku is used. That's all I gotta say. I think it's very, very, very different. B says Luffy mad underrated, but the story low-key failing him. I won't say nothing about that. Javal Matthew says, where's the Wano retrospective? All right. We hit 500 likes. Good shit. The Wano retrospective, it's a long video. It's coming. It's not quite there. I was hoping to get it out before Christmas. I can't. The other reason being, even if I really tried to push it, a new One Piece chapter comes out on December 23rd, which it's just... I'm not going to put out a long-ass video right before a new One Piece chapter comes out because that just kills the hype, kills the whatever for it, basically. So it needs to be a little bit after it needs to be a break. That's pretty much it. Green Princess says Kid Goku is pretty similar to Luffy. No, again, in terms of, like, basic personality traits, yes. But in terms of, like, there's a lot more to Luffy, I think, than Goku. It's just Luffy on the day-to-day surface level, the way he operates is very similar to Goku. But there's a lot more to him than Goku, and there's a lot more, I would say a lot more depth to the way that Oda thinks about and uses Luffy, and what he tries to say with Luffy, which I think is very important, what he tries to say with Luffy, and how that's used throughout the story, than there is with a character like Goku, in my opinion. Island Sanji says, just curious, to keep up with My Hero Academia and thoughts. Can anyone share with me, is My Hero Academia good right now? Because I'm seeing so many controversial things about My Hero at the moment. I've heard good things and bad things. WoW says morality-wise, they're similar. I would agree with that for the most part. No, I mean, Luffy has more interesting ideas when it comes to, I think, his approach to morality, to be honest. Luffy has some interesting takes on right and wrong. I think that one of the little frustrating things for me for Luffy is that I think there's points where he definitely expresses some more potential for genuinely selfish actions, I suppose, but it doesn't truly come through in terms of what he actually does. It's hard to explain. People really don't like how My Hero is right now. Where can people okay, are you guys talking about the anime or the manga? Anime or the manga? Yeah, okay, it says My Hero went from Orange Town to something like Marine Ford way too fast. It's an arc that needs to be binged like Wano. Virgil Hawkins said, thanks again for being a member for 2 months. Jan Cotier, got any Chainsaw Man hot takes? Would you ever make an Alabasta analysis video? And what's your favorite video that you have ever made? Chainsaw Man hot takes. Chainsaw Man hot takes. Chainsaw Man hot takes. Oh, I guess my hot take for Chainsaw Man is that I don't know if it's a hot take at this point. I think it's the funniest series that I'm currently reading. I think it's the funniest series out there. At least people are going to come out and be like, well, have you read? Look, all I'll say is if you read the most recent Chainsaw Man chapter, especially if you know the characters, please don't go read the most recent Chainsaw Man chapter if you have no context. Because you might come away from it being like, it wasn't that funny. If you know the characters and stuff like that, it's just the style of humor and his approach to comedy is just very, very, very different than usual manga, right? You guys know the Japanese sense of humor, right? It's not like different cultures have different commonalities and the type of humor that they go with and everything like that. Chainsaw Man is very, very, very. It is not manga humor. It is not typical Japanese manga humor at all. Like the most recent chapter is it's fucking bizarre. It's just so absurdly bizarre, and the way characters talk to each other, and their like almost shamelessly weird and stubborn opinions and reactions. I love it. The pacing of the jokes, things being underplayed, overplayed, the weirdly stilted manner of speaking some characters have. I love it. I don't know if that's a hot take, but it's the funniest shit that I'm reading right now. Would I ever make an Alabasta analysis video? I would like to. It's a video that I don't think would get a lot of views. Alabasta, as I understand it, it's an arc that people appreciate and remember fondly. It's just for me, it's just like, would I put in the time to do? Like, for example, how do I say this? Whole Cake Island, I put out a video on that after it came out. Marine Ford, Annie's Lobby, those are kind of timeless videos that people really like. Dressrosa, I did an analysis video on it, and it was not too long after Dressrosa. Not too long after Dressrosa. It was only one arc removed, I think. It was, like an arc and a half removed from Dressrosa. Skypiea, I did a video on it when it became really relevant with all of the new connections we were getting in Wano. So people were hot on Skypiea. Alabasta, it's just like, I think most One Piece fans don't have the strongest memory of Alabasta. So whereas for me, it's my third favorite storyline in One Piece. I think for most people, they probably like it, again, remember it fondly, but I don't think people are craving an Alabasta analysis. And these videos take me time. They just take me time. Because you know how I do the videos, I like to get off the panels and everything like that. So it's just, they take time. They just take time. Yeah. I don't know about Alabasta. I'll try at some point maybe. What's my favorite video I ever made? I don't know. Weird question for me because it's just like, this is a weird question. I think that one of the better videos I made was like why Oda is underrated. I like that one where I went into the side characters a lot. Why Oda is underrated. I like that one a lot. I like Philosophy of One Piece. I like most of the arc analysis. But at this point, it's just weird. I don't really know how I would evaluate that. Oh, VN Liker says, how do you actually view themes in something you're reading, like One Piece, for example? I tend to overanalyze things. Do you have a red line that you follow? For me, I think themes are anything that... It's not even for me. This is just what it is. This is one thing I don't like about certain other things that I see from people's now. Okay, like actual analysis, like how you would do it for fucking literature classes and stuff like that, like how in academia, like how these things are viewed seriously. The simple rule is basically consistency and intent. That's it. Those are the two things that matter: consistency and intent. So you need to, it's ideas that have to be regularly being built in and regularly being mentioned over and over, and usually in different, so that can be explicit in terms of like actual bits of dialogue, right? And then also a bit more open to interpretation, where it's like, okay, maybe why'd they include this this symbolism frequently, or why'd they include this imagery frequently, things like that. Do these things seem to clearly tie to what's being said over and over, right? And these all need to be coherent in going towards a certain message, right? So consistency, so you see the same thing over and over in different contexts, like same ideas over and over in different contexts, but always building on each other. And intent. Intent meaning like, you can't just be drawing. This is what I really dislike when like sometimes I'll see people just like take one thing that's said and then just like extrapolate a whole shit ton of stuff from it. It needs to be consistent, right? Consistent and intentional, right? So you need to see it in multiple places to know that the author is pushing for building towards a particular message. That's all that really matters at the end of the day. And that makes a theme. That's pretty much it. Like if I'm talking about Enies Lobby, right? If I'm talking about Enies Lobby, then so much dialogue throughout Enies Lobby goes towards Luffy as a captain, Luffy's burden as a captain. There's frequent bits of dialogue throughout it about Luffy as a captain. Is Luffy a good captain? Is he a bad captain? Early on in the arc, he's being accused of being a bad captain. As the arc progresses, he's struggling with the burden of being a captain. These are not things that I'm just like assuming or putting into, like, you could make something up and say like, oh, in Skypiea, Luffy, you know, he gets separated from his crew, so he's being a bad captain. And then by the end of it, though, he defeats NL and saves all of them, so he's a good captain. So it's a story about Luffy being a good captain. No, it's not, because there's no intent. You just force some intent onto a series of events. There's no discussion in the Skypiea arc really about whether or not Luffy's a good captain. That's not anything to do with what the messaging of Skypiea is, right? Enies Lobby, that's a frequent discussion, right? So because it's coming up over and over, you understand that, okay, Oda's trying to put a message out there about what it takes to be a good captain. So from there, you can look at the messaging, right, in terms of what Oda saying makes a good captain versus a bad captain. So obviously there's the Zoro speech at the end, but then there's also what Luffy tells Blueno in terms of how he always wants to protect his friends, which then ties into what Lucci tells Luffy later, which is that you are cut out to be a good boss because you're standing here to fight for your friends, whereas a certain idiot, he's referencing Spandam, wouldn't do that. So contrast, right? So there's more messaging going there, right? This is an arc about Luffy's struggle to become a captain. What does it mean to be a good captain? Well, it means various things. And Luffy's actually really good at this one aspect of it, which is protecting his people. He needed to get better at this other aspect of it, which is commanding respect. But these two things also go hand in hand to a degree, right? Then, because that stuff makes sense as a theme that's being pushed, right? Then you can look at other parts. And you can start ascribing meaning to certain bits of dialogue that otherwise may not stand out as symbolism, right? So when Iceberg is explaining why the Going Merry needs to be trashed and thrown away, he explains that the keel is the most important part of the ship. The keel is what holds it together. Without the keel, the whole ship will fall apart. Because the Going Merry's keel is damaged, that means that you can't work with the Going Merry anymore because the keel is broken, therefore you need a whole new ship, right? The whole thing's going to fall apart without the keel. you can't work with the keel that it currently has, right? In this same conversation, Iceberg talks about how Luffy's a bad captain, and then this slowly segues into this discussion about how it feels like the crew is falling apart. These are explicit bits of dialogue, and how Zoro's talking about if you can't stand strong Luffy and keep us together, then we have no one to look to and things like that. So based on that, you can basically draw the parallel, or like not the parallel, but the connection that, okay, obviously Oda's pulling a metaphor here with the Going Merry representing the crew sort of falling apart, and Luffy as the keel, right? So when Iceberg's talking about if the keel breaks, then the whole ship falls apart. That's a metaphor for or for Oda talking about Luffy's responsibility to the crew and what he has to be to the crew going forward, right? So that's all important stuff. That's basically like it's consistency and intent, and oftentimes like where these things are being tied together, stuff like that. That's what I think is important. Well, that's generally what's considered important. That's pretty much it. J Press P says CG versus RHP could be fun. What? Cross Guild versus Red-Haired Pirates, like Roger versus Whitebeard and Odin's flashback. Would be cool to see Shanks and Mihawk clash, and everyone else interacting. Momo awakening soon. It's just that only Shanks and Mihawk is a good matchup. I think Ben Beckman would wipe the floor with Crocodile. Even if Crocodile's gotten stronger, he would have had to have gotten stronger at this point, right? Otherwise, it's not even close. But I think Ben Beckman would wipe the floor with Crocodile, even if Crocodile's gotten stronger. And beyond that, I mean, you got Lucky Roo, Yasop, etc. Who does the Cross Guild even have? Trinity of the Phoenix says Gear 5th is Luffy's new normal. He'll use zone form casually like Marco and may even adapt his Gear 4th form into specific attacks while in Gear 5th using Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Yeah, that's the thing. I talked about this earlier. I just don't think that we'll necessarily be seeing Luffy have to rely on Gear 4th again, because it's just like, why? Gear 5th doesn't seem like it's got significant drawbacks. I know that Kid and Law said that Awakenings drain energy, but I swear I remember them saying it was Paramecia Awakenings, Yang 64, welcome to the Yonko. Thank you for joining. Because Zone Awakenings are supposed to heal you, right? Zone Awakenings are supposed to get your stamina back up. Yeah, Water 7 is Water 7 Endless Lobby is my favorite arc. I do think that thematically, I think that what Oda did thematically with Water 7 Endless Lobby was, it's like both levels for me. Like emotionally, it was the hardest hitting arc for me personally, and then I think thematically it was the hardest hitting arc. Like so much came together there. The switch from everything that he did with the transition from the Merry to the Sunny, and the amount of like symbolism that he got out of that was crazy. It's like so much, okay? Because part of it is the shifting of the crew, right? So, or the shifting of the ship. Sorry. Part of it is about the crew themselves, like their transformation, what they need to be. Luffy is the keel, like he's the center of the ship. Luffy needs to be able to hold everyone together. Without him, the whole crew falls apart, and the crew is falling apart, right? At the same time, they need to be able to evolve, right? So they can't just be a ragtag bunch of adventurers anymore, right? They get serious. They talk about that. That's a discussion that's had over and over. And Zoro really hammers it in at the end of it, which is just like, we're like a real pirate crew from now on, right? Like, this is really important. We can't just be doing this stuff as a joke anymore, right? So they all step up in a way over the course of this arc. So they leave their old selves behind, which is the Merry. And they become the Thousand Sunny, but aspects of the Merry stay in the Thousand Sunny because it's still the same core crew. They've just become something more. But then on the flip side, the switch to the Thousand Sunny is so important because their new section of their journey has started, right? They just declared war against the world government. What's the true conflict of One Piece, right? The true conflict of One Piece is bringing about the dawn of the world, right? Ending the world government, Celestial Dragon's reign, right? Ending the whatever the fuck darkness has been controlling the world, whatever, the generic stuff, whatever. And bringing the dawn, right? That's what the Straughts are supposed to be in the grand scheme of things. They're supposed to be the ones who bring the dawn. Enies Lobby is the arc that sets them on the path to do that for the first time, because that's the first storyline that brings them head-to-head with their final opponent, the one that they need to defeat, which is the world government, and they declare war on it. So that, too, is symbolized in them switching from the Going Merry to the Thousand Sunny, right? That's when they take on the symbol of the sun, Whether they know it or not, it wasn't supposed to be that. It just accidentally ended up being the sun that symbolizes them. But that's the same way that they ended up going up against the world government. It wasn't to bring the dawn or anything. It's just they accidentally ended up on a path to take them down, and that's the way the story's going to go in the end. So there's like a shit ton that you get out of just the ship metaphor. And then on top of that, just the fact that he planned from so long that this was going to be the arc to do it, because Usopp was the one that was always written to have the strongest connection with Going Merry, right? Like, they got the Going Merry in Usopp's arc. And the setup for the Going Merry kind of breaking apart, that had been an ongoing thing, especially played up by the time we're at Skypiea, that this is something that's going to be important. And all if it leads to the point that they have to transition from the Going Merry to a new ship and become like basically a big boy crew, that's the point that it's going to be most important for Usopp's character arc, to kind of, like, he's the easiest character to focus in on as being the one most traumatized and struggling the most with this sort of shift in who they have to be, going from like just a group of traveling friends to like a very serious, capable, competent pirate crew that's going to have to stick together under anything, follow orders, like act like a real captain and crew basically going forward. He, as the weakest, is naturally going to have the most struggle and like most significant character arc over the course of that. So to have planned from that far back that, okay, the Going Merry, this is going to be connected to Usopp, because by connecting it to Usopp, once I have this arc that focuses on the transition from the crew from what they once were to their big boy roles of like heading towards saving the world, taking down the world government, bringing the dawn, etc., I can focus the most on Usopp as the character to really hammer that transition home as the character in the crew that's going to be most affected by that. Everyone will be affected, but this is the guy that I can write the most around that. So I thought that's really cool. Anyway. I'm always sober, except I have occasionally come on to streams with a beer in my hand, but that's been a long while. I'm always sober when you see me. Where are we at? Light Yagami says it was confusing that Oda never drew the sun rising in the One Piece equivalent of Japan as the end of the arc. Yeah, he never drew that at the end of the arc, but he did draw that towards the beginning of the fight with the Black Cat Pirates, actually. Papa Dog Sucker says, I know you get high before streams, Morj. No. I don't get high before streams because there was only one time and only one time that I got high for a stream. And it was a Wano report that we did live. This was way back. We did a Wano report live. I had my camera off. You can probably still find it on the Wano report channel. We started, and as we were going, like after a little bit, I was just like, it was just overwhelming. Because like you're seeing so many people talking in chat. I'm like trying to keep my thoughts straight. Also trying to be like a little entertaining or whatever. Also don't want to tell people I'm high, so I'm like trying to hide it. Because like it was supposed to be just like a inside joke thing for me and O'Hara. I was like, dude, I'm going to smoke before this one. But I'm seeing chat going. And I'm like, wait, is it going to be obvious? Do I just tell him? So I'm trying to keep it normal. O'Hara's cracking up, which is making it harder for me to keep it together. It was just all very overwhelming, and like I'm like slowly getting stressed by it. I'm like, shit, like should I just keep quiet? Should I mostly let O'Hara do the talking for this one? And after a little bit, I was just like, dude, I can't do it. I can't do this one. He was like, what? I was like, we got to end the stream. I can't do this one. So I don't remember exactly how we wrapped it. But I'm pretty sure it was one that we ended fairly early. I don't know if it's still on the channel, or maybe it was one of the earlier ones that was once on my channel or his channel before we made the separate channel. But that was a funny one. Oscar Mondragon says, I guess it'd be fine as long as you let us know, lol. Hiding getting high always leads to unwanted paranoia, lol. Yeah, it's getting high, it depends. I have to feel very comfortable in the context, basically. I think definitely streaming high is no fun for me. It's too much. Because like when you're high, I think very often like it depends on the person. At least for me, if like I start to get concerned that some things might be going wrong or something like that, then I'll overthink that part. So I get high to relax purely, relax, watch stuff, kick back, shut my brain off. I don't like working my brain when I'm high. So streaming is not going to be fun because I got to respond to a lot of stuff. There's a lot of sensory input, stuff like that. Purple Tape asked a good question. What do you think is Chainsaw Man's biggest strength as a story? It's tricky because it's a lot of different things, I would say. It's definitely a multifaceted... I think it stands out as very different from a lot of other series that are coming out today because its approach is different in a lot of different facets. So it's hard to say any singular thing that really stands out. I think thematically it's a really... You know what? Biggest strength as a story? I'd say minimalism. Wait. Hold on. In a lot of aspects of it. I think the way that it approaches dialogue, interactions, scene direction, art style, I think it tries to keep it all very, very tight, which gives it this really strange feel while you're reading it. And it does also really, really make me appreciate the way that it lets its themes play out because it doesn't have to rely on, it really doesn't rely on long-winded explanations of ideas. It gets its ideas across in like lots of really subtle examples, subtle bits and pieces of ideas, of analogies, metaphors, things like that. Subtle scenes, I would say. Like something that just seems strange and offbeat or whatever. Like the dialogue, I don't want to spoil things, right? So I'm not going to give examples, but you'll see when the video comes out. Yuma Tozawa says, CSM is basically the same shonen story, but in a very good wrapper of quirk and freakish charisma. I would say it's completely the opposite. I would say its core ideas go very against what most shonen push for, and almost laughs at a lot of the regular ideas that shonen push for. But you gotta wait for the video. Soga King asked, your background poster is pretty cool. Where you bought it from at Mr. Morj? Click the link above to go to morjstore.com where you too can purchase this for yourself or a friend or a loved one for Christmas. Hazard and Gibson says, bro, what's the themes of Chainsaw Man? I heard people say it's that the lack of motherhood or something. That is stupid. At a stretch, you could argue that, but it's a small part of a lot more. No, it's just stupid. That's just stupid. Oh, shit. Sorry, 9 p.m. Okay. All right, guys. We're going to wrap the stream in a couple minutes. Let me answer a couple more normal questions. No supers, please. Hazard and Gibson says, what is it then? Wait for the video. Please wait for the... I swear there's a good video coming. Rody Pato says, what do you think about Hunter x Hunter's current arc? Hunter x Hunter's current arc? Okay. Here's where I left off. So I'm not caught up on the new chapters. I was loving Hunter x Hunter's new arc. Okay. I tried to read the new chapters. Hunter x Hunter's Succession War arc was shaping up for me to be my favorite arc, I think. When he took his break, at the point that he took his break. It was shaping up for me to be my favorite arc, I think. I wouldn't say it was better than the Chimera Ant arc, because the Chimera Ant arc, I think it just hit some different levels in terms of creativity and the way it presented its ideas and what it got across, okay? But just purely plot-wise, setting-wise, kind of like what the story was for this arc, it was the Succession War arc, it's very exciting to me, right? Very exciting stuff to me. Big kind of murder house, kind of horror effects, horror influence, I guess, to a bit of, lots of mysteries being uncovered, lots of rival factions, things like that. It's like Game of Thrones mixed with a murder mystery, mixed with like a haunted house setup almost, basically, with, I don't know, some mafia elements and stuff like that. There's a lot going on there that was very, very exciting to me. Okay? So, without spoiling anything, that's where I left off. So I come back to pick up the new chapters, and stupid me, I sat down. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna binge them, right? I'm gonna binge these chapters that have just come out. I think there's 10 new chapters to read or something like that. There's a lot. So I tried to read them all back to back, and dude, I think I got a couple chapters in, and I don't remember. It's hard to explain, but there's so many, because right now we're below deck, or at least below the top levels of the deck, right? There's so much shit, so many characters. Like, if you take me to the top deck, I'm gonna remember most of the characters, probably not all of the bodyguards and stuff, right? Definitely not all the bodyguards. But below deck, I'm just I don't remember all of these characters. I really, really don't. And it's not even I don't remember these characters. I'm just it feels like I'm reading a different series. I don't see one fucking familiar face. I go 2 chapters, I'm who the fuck are these guys? I see, there's a couple familiar faces, okay? But by familiar faces, I mean we'll see a prince, one of the princes from upstairs, talk to one of the mafia bosses downstairs. I barely know the mafia bosses. I'm just I want to enjoy the current arc because I loved where the setup left off, but I think I'm at a point where I've realized I need to go back and reread this arc from start to finish to fully catch up to and have the proper context to approach these new chapters. Because right now, I genuinely feel like I've been dropped into a series that I've never read before. Okay? I feel like I've been dropped into some sort of a spin-off series where characters are acting like I know everything that's going on or whatever, and I see cameos occasionally of characters that I do know somewhat, characters that I do know who are hey, just checking in, everything going on good down here, you guys are looking for Hisoka and stuff, right? You guys are trying to solve this stuff, this clan versus this clan versus this clan. I know the clans, I know what the mafia bosses are, but we're dealing with the subordinates of each of the mafia bosses, trying to find, it's just, I know I'm making myself sound really stupid right now, but that's genuinely how I felt when I tried to pick up the last couple chapters. I think I just need the proper context. It's been a bit since I've reread. I need the proper context for the current Hunter x Hunter arc. It's because it's just, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff, and no, I swear, here's the thing. I swear if you took me back upstairs, I'd be able to slip right back in. It's the fact that we're downstairs, and the downstairs characters were the characters that we were only briefly introduced to before the break. We were introduced to a shit ton of downstairs characters before the break, and we're being slipped right back in to deal with all the downstairs characters. And I don't remember fucking downstairs characters that well. That's just the way it is. So, P says, but they got the Phantom Troop though? Yeah, well, I haven't fucking seen them in a minute. So, I know that there's characters I like around here. But that's the thing. I don't want to just skim through to try and get to Hisoka and the Phantom Troop. I don't want to just skim through to get to those. I want to be immersed in the full plot line that's going on and feel like I get everything that's going on. So to do that, I think either I think I reread the arc from start to finish, which is a lot, or I try and watch. Does anyone know anyone who's got some good catch-up videos on it? I'm not trying to knock Hunter x Hunter. I'm really not trying to knock Hunter x Hunter. I really, 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 really like Hunter x Hunter. And I want to get back into really enjoying this arc because for me it was shaping up to be probably my favorite arc in Hunter x Hunter. Yeah, it was just shaping up to be a really, really exciting arc for me. And I believe it will still be a really exciting arc by the time I just need to just need to put some of the pieces back together so I remember what I'm reading. I'm not trying to knock Hunter x Hunter for this. It's unfortunate truth is that we had a long break in time between reading the chapters and we're slipping back into a group of characters that we didn't get a lot of time to spend with before the break happened. So, yeah, I just need the context back. That's pretty much it. Baby Morj says, Morj, don't you think it's unfair that you hate Yamato for a lack of character development but love Zoro with the same thing? What? It's... Where did this whole thing... Okay, one, I'm unhappy. I'm just as, if not more, unhappy with Zoro's character storyline in Wano as I was with Yamato. But to pretend that Zoro is anywhere near... Like, over the course of the series, that Zoro is anywhere close to as underdeveloped a character as Yamato is, it's insane. Right? I would say the first truly significant character moment, the first truly significant character moment in all of One Piece, right? First truly significant character moment in all of One Piece was Zoro and Mihawk. And that to date stands out as one of the most important character moments in the entire story, right? The character's entire worldview is rearranged, right? I think that that's one of the greatest character moments that One Piece has, period. And again, first truly great character moment in One Piece. That's the type of thing that that makes a character a real character, right? Yamato kind of had... Imagine if the storyline that Yamato had in Wano would be very similar to if Zoro just beat Mihawk on the first try. Because Yamato is a character that comes in that never experiences any friction. That's what was bizarre to me. I can't believe we're still doing a Yamato rant in like December of 2022. But she never experiences any friction. She shows up. She has a very simple set of beliefs, which is just like, now we got Luffy. Luffy's going to beat Kaido, save Wano, and we're all going to live happily ever after, right? She shows up with basically that set of beliefs, and then that just happens. And like the entire time, she's never really phased or thrown off by any... Like, there's nothing that ever happens that like makes her have to think or question or like... feel like things aren't perfectly straightforward. She comes in with very straightforward attitude, straightforward explanation of like how things are going to go, and then they go exactly like that. And then at the end, she's like, yay, hooray. Oh, but I'm actually not going to join the crew just because I'm not going to join the crew, just because I think I should stay behind. That's the only thing that like kind of, that's the only curveball that we got a little bit at the end that prevented, in my opinion, travesty. Okay. But that's the thing, like with the interesting part of all the Straw Hats in their initial storylines, right, is the point where they are disillusioned and forced to rethink the way they view the world, right? That's the interesting point of each Straw Hat, right? For Nami, it's when she realizes that she needs to ask Luffy for help. She completely rearranges what she's been fighting towards, the way she's been living her life this entire time, etc. She changes that. Chopper, same thing. He doesn't think that anyone can be his friend. He doesn't think anyone can love him. He doesn't think he can fit in anywhere, etc. He changes that by the end of the Drum Kingdom arc. Zoro, he had this belief about... Zoro, it's two-part, right? Initially, Zoro has the belief of like, well, I'm not going to be a pirate because I don't want to stain my name. By the end of the first arc, he's changed his mind. That's not the big part. For Zoro, the big awakening was the battle with Mihawk, where he has to reframe basically how he's approaching, how he views his own place in the world, what he's actually... He switches from basically someone who's seeking a challenge to someone who's begun a climb, right? To try and eventually actually get to a place and actually deserve it. He changes a lot over the course of that. His worldview changes a lot over the course of that encounter, right? So you can go through all the Straw, it's the same thing. You want characters who experience friction. I think that that's generally very, very important for a character to be developed. You want a character who experiences friction, who has their beliefs challenged in some way, and ideally changed in some way. Yamato, I think, is the worst example of that, of a character being extremely prominent in the story with a set of extremely naive and almost too simplistic views that then work out exactly as she imagined without ever experiencing friction or having to think or question or reframe her perspective. People are referencing other moments for Zoro. You could say Zoro's Nothing Happened. That's a big moment because it shifts, like it marks the shift from who he was at the beginning of the story, who would kill Luffy if he got into the way of his dreams, to Zoro now who would do anything for Luffy and places his captain above his dreams, right? You could say Zoro begging Mihawk, right? Zoro has development over the course of the story. It's just been sorely lacking recently, but that doesn't represent Zoro fully as a character. It's the same way that like most people, like when they got really upset with Sanji post-time skip, they're upset with post-time skip Sanji. They still really liked who he was before that. Anyway. I think we're all good. Just checking any last supers. 1 second. All right. I think we're all good, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. This was a fun stream. No chapter this week. Everybody go get the poster. Get yourself a poster. Whoever has friends that, need some One Piece gifts in their life, family members, loved ones, significant others, etc. Get them a One Piece poster. Get yourself a One Piece poster. It's available on morjstore.com. Just hit the link above, and I'll talk to you all later.